Indeed, indeed. All right, let's go to the Fin Review. Jab for 1.2 million kids by the end of the year. Australia's 1.2 million children aged between 12 and 15 should be vaccinated by the end of the year, after Scott Morrison said the plan was to immunise them against the coronavirus in parallel with the adult population. And, of course, we do know, Ollie, that the Delta variant, the game changer Delta variant, is particularly rampant when it comes to youngsters. We're seeing a lot more youngsters get the virus as a result of that. And I think this is a very, very strong and bold and courageous and good move.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it, Gleeson, because the cases now in both the ACT, Victoria and New South Wales linked as well to school clusters, so children are becoming infected with COVID-19. It is a delicate conversation, though, still, and it's important that we continue to have this in the media, and we seek the expertise of the Therapeutic Goods Administration once it's given the tick of approval. Obviously now already 12-year-olds plus are eligible for the Pfizer vaccination. I even get talkback callers, Gleeson, who have indicated to me over the last few weeks that their children say, "Mum, Dad, I just want the vaccination. I just want to be able to make sure that I'm safe and secure as well, and that my school and my life's not going to be interrupted going forward." I put that to the PM today as well, though, that this modelling, this Doherty modelling, is based on 70-80% of the eligible population, which at the moment is 16 plus. And I know that is one of the concerns, Gleeson, of the WA Premier, Mark McGowan. He wants the modelling to include school-age children as well, whether that's 12 plus, whether that's even younger. Can that be achieved? As the PM's told me, and he's told the Fin tomorrow morning, that this will be done in parallel. But does that affect that modelling? That might be what we hear from the push from people like McGowan, Andrews and Palaszczuk when the National Cabinet meeting is convened again on Friday. But it does not appear as though that will deviate the plan the Prime Minister has to reach those 70 or 80% targets, which we've been speaking about at length this evening.
Which ties into the SMH splash, youngest and oldest first back to school. Students in kindergarten to year 2 as well as year 11 will be the first to return to school in term 4 as part of a staged reopening once New South Wales vaccination rates hit 70%. The second stage of the staggered return in October, which was confirmed by several sources who are not authorised to speak to the media, is also likely to involve year 6 ahead of their transition to high school. And when we think of this pandemic and we think of the way in which it has impacted upon Australians and upon our lives, I think that, you know, the fact that our school students, the fact that our education system has been so ravaged is an area that we need to, you know, really take into account. And there is a cohort of students in this country right now, Ollie, who have been robbed of some serious, you know, normal time at school, if you like, and have had to do their stuff at home. And I don't know what impact that's going to have, but I'm certain it's going to have some impact.
Oh, of course it will, particularly those students who were in year 11 last year, year 12 this year, Gleeson, because that is such an important time in your life when you're 16, 17, 18 years old. It is the be-all and end-all when you're graduating from high school. I know once you get a little bit more perspective and you move on from those schooling years that you probably realise your best years are still ahead of you. But they are the penultimate, the ultimate year of high school. It's a rite of passage, and whether you're lucky enough to go to schoolies or leavers when you graduate from year 12, perhaps you go and get a job, you might go to university, you might go to TAFE, you might even have a gap year. Now, it's obviously a global pandemic. The world's been flipped on its head and we're all adjusting to those changes. But particularly for those young adults who are trying to transition into the next stage of their life, they're the ones I really feel for. So by encouraging year 11s to get back to school first and foremost, I know there was a story carried in the newspapers today, Gleeson as well, that to sit the high school certificate in Sydney, they're even looking at perhaps holding some exams outdoors. Anything and everything that needs to be done to help the graduating class of year 12 this year needs to be first and foremost the priority. Like the idea of year 11s getting back to school, because they're on that path again for next year and they've had a couple of uncertain years. And of course the young ones, the kindergarten students, they're starting off their schooling journey, and it's so important that they're back there meeting their mates, you know, having a run around at recess and lunchtime. And I talk to my 10 and 11-year-old nieces and nephews who are in lockdown in Sydney into, you know, weeks 9 and 10, And all my nephew keeps telling me, Gleeso, is he just wants to go and tackle someone. He loves his rugby and he just wants to tackle someone in the playground. I mean, you have to think about that. It sounds so simple and easy, but that's what kids want to be able to do. So as soon as they can get back, have a bit of fun, run around, and most importantly, go back to the classroom and get an education, it's just so important for those developmental years of our young Australians.